actually. I love Come to Christ. I love playing. Leading up to tonight, I've been thinking about a quote actually by Elie Wiesel, who wrote the book Night. He said, "God made man because God loves stories." And when Carla first came up to me and was like, "Hey, you should do the testimony," I was filled with terror, and I'm sure if he has ever come up to you before, somebody has come up to you before, you felt the same way. But I think it's important for us to share, because that's what we do as the body, is to fill in each other's strengths, or fill in each other's weaknesses with our strengths. So I want you to think for a moment, what brought you here tonight? Was it the music? Was it the adoration? Was it that cute girl or cute guy that you always follow around to Catholic all events? Don't judge the reason that you're here, because God brought us here for that reason, and it indicates what you're hungry for, right? Like what your strength is in approaching the Lord. And God wants to take that, and He also wants to build up your weaknesses. So just think about your motivation. And tonight I'm going to just share with you my story about how I came to Catholicism, and how my walk with Christ continues to grow through these practices that we share. Are there any non-Catholics by any chance? Okay, well, welcome anyway. Do not take what I say as catechism, like strict Catholic teaching. This is just my experience of the Lord and what I've learned over the past, I would say, year mainly. But I'll start out talking about my parents. My mom grew up an Irish Catholic. She had 3 other brothers and sisters, and my dad grew up with no faith at all on the West Coast in Northern California and Washington State. And my parents met in Boston. My dad went to MIT, and my mom went to an all-girls school called Simmons College. And what do the smart guys at MIT do over the summer? They rent out their frat houses to the pretty girls of Simmons College, and that's how my parents met. And so my dad was doing the ROTC, and I guess my mom fell in love with that good-looking uniform, and they moved out together to California for his first duty assignment. He didn't want to, leave her behind there. So eventually we moved to Spain, where I was born. My brother was born at the U.S. Naval Station out there. And if you show this picture here, I actually got to meet the Pope John Paul II, when my parents were cavorting around Europe. So you can kind of see my dad in the background trying to take a photo, and my mom was holding me. One of the only blonde babies in Italy or Spain. So I share that just because it's an interesting piece of foreshadowing, I think, that God has like an overarching narrative for each of us. Like, that was my only Catholic influence for the first, 29 years of my life. But I think it was a big one, so I think it's just interesting. Eventually, my mom insisted that we all go to church as a family, and my dad insisted that it wasn't a Catholic church, since he grew up essentially atheist. And so we started going to a Methodist church. And like most kids, you're really bored in church, you can't wait to get out, get the free donut, and go watch cartoons. But eventually, in middle school, I joined a youth group, and I started to get more involved, and things started to change. I went on my first overnight retreat, and that's where I heard my first altar call. So what this is in the Protestant church is the pastor will get up and essentially share the gospel with you and say, we're all born sinners. Jesus came as God's Son to save all of us from our sins. And tonight, if you believe that, if you come before Him and give Him your heart, you will be saved. And so that's what it means if someone says, I'm saved, and they ask if you're saved. They're really just asking if you've had an encounter with the Holy Spirit. So that happened at that retreat. I was too scared to go up, but when I got home after that retreat, I went home that night, and I said, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. I was just laying in bed, and I started praying that prayer, Jesus, I want you to come into my life, and I want to give you everything. And even before I finished saying that, just in my head, I felt this electric peace come over me, and it was just very real to me. So when people say that they are saved or they're asking me about that, I put a lot of weight in that experience, because I think the Spirit can come to us through that. I think it helps when you're younger too. You're just more open to that experience. So I spent a lot of those subsequent years chasing that high, like chasing the high of the Holy Spirit. And we would go to concerts and other venues where big speakers were talking and teaching us more about Christ. Eventually in college, I joined a Christian fellowship called University. And up to that point, I'd done a lot of this seeking kind of on my own, just reading the Bible and doing Bible study on my own. But in college, I really learned the importance of practicing this faith and community together. And I got really involved. I did small groups, I did worship team, I did leadership team. And I started to think the really good Christians leave behind their job and everything, and they go become evangelists, like they go become missionaries. And so that was what I thought I needed to do, was to forsake everything and become a missionary. And so I started praying to God about that. I prayed for 2 mission trips in college, one to Paraguay for a church building and one to China, which that was a cool trip because we were teaching English, but the real purpose was for us to talk to the guys about Jesus, and in a surveillance state, it's kind of a difficult challenge. But I remember praying for that China trip, and I was home from college in Virginia, and it was late at night, and this big thunderstorm was rolling in the summertime. You have this sense of being very small in the presence of God when there's a big storm like that. And so I was praying, I was really excited to go to China, and I wanted God to just give me a yes or no, right? Like, should I become a missionary? Is this the purpose you have for all of us good Christian kids trying to do the right thing? And he just said, I will use you if you go, but I will use you if you don't go. It's very kind of dissatisfying answer. Like, why doesn't he just tell me what he wants me to do? I did a similar thing I joined Air Force ROTC in college, and they push you really hard to be a pilot because there's always a shortage of pilots, but they always need good people to go. And I thought, oh, wouldn't that be cool? It really increase my status with the ladies and that kind of thing if I was a pilot. So I prayed a lot, but this time I prayed in college about it, and I think that high stress environment really chokes out our prayer life. The prayer that I had at home away from school was a lot more fruitful. And God didn't tell me what to do then either. So in that case, I kind of followed my instincts of my gifts are in engineering and science. I don't really want to fly, as weird as that sounds, like as cool as it would be. So anyway, I graduated. I was really proud of that accomplishment. And I was like, I'm good. I know everything I need to know. I'll be this shining beacon of engineering brilliance and Christian holiness because I was part of this awesome fellowship, and that's my life. Like, that's the best point in my life. Which is weird to say now because I was 22, and it's like, why would you think at 22 that you lived your whole life, learned everything you need to know? But when you accomplish something like that, the temptation is to get this, I call it a plateau mindset. Like, you reach the peak, and then you can just coast through the rest of your life. Once I got to Albuquerque, I started working in the Air Force. I was working at the labs, so it's not really a military environment. And the pace was really slow. Like, going from a high-paced environment in college to the real world was a real letdown. So I was like, okay, now I feel like my life's not going anywhere. Obviously, I need to start setting more goals. I missed the community that I had at university. And so I joined up a Bible study that another lieutenant had started. And that's where I met Ruth, who some of you guys know. She's an awesome Catholic woman of God. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I've never had a Catholic in my small group before. But she seems really cool, like really normal, so it must be okay. And I started following her around because she actually was really well connected around the churches here. And so I started following her around to different Catholic small groups. And I figured, okay, it's New Mexico, there's like a strong Catholic tradition here, so that just must be where all the young adults are at. But I still didn't feel the need, like I needed to convert to Catholicism, because I still have my own interior life, like my interior connection with the Spirit. And Up to this point, I had dated throughout high school and college, and all of my life I've been kind of hopelessly, I'm a hopeless romantic. I have this like Jane Austen mindset that as soon as I meet the one person that I was supposed to be with, poetry will just flow, and it'll just be like the movie, right? And so every time my relationship hit a lull, I got really analytical about it. Like, have you ever been in that relationship where you're defining every single day, like, where are we at today, and you're always talking about the status? That was me. So, yeah, Carla knows. So I started getting really desperate in that place, right? I was trying to meet girls at these young adult meetings. One of my more desperate nights, I created a Christian mingle account, as the good Christian guys try to do. And I did end up going on one date through that, and it was a real letdown, because I don't know if you've been on a date like this, where you're both trying to be the good Christian in the relationship, and you're like trying to one-up each other on how much you understand about Christian dating. So that was a disappointment. I've heard similar things about Catholic marriage. Right up until then, I had been dating this other girl, a coworker, which is also a terrible idea. And I was really tired of my analytical self. So I was getting to the point where I thought I could just make anything work. Like, I know all the answers. I'm a good Christian. I want to be chaste. And, you're getting tired of waiting for marriage to have sex. And so I was just like, the next girl I meet, I'm just gonna, she's gonna be the one. And I didn't say it to myself maybe that clearly, but your mind can get in a place like that. And so that's where I married the girl, or I met the girl that I would marry. She kind of checked all the boxes. I met her at a fellowship. And she was also at the point in life where she was receptive to getting married. She had just graduated college. She hadn't gotten a job doing what she wanted to do, so she moved back home to Albuquerque. And both of us were sort of looking to marriage to give us purpose in our life, right? And you can fall into that trap because marriage is vocation, right? But I think our ultimate purpose is to serve God through whatever we do. And if you want to use marriage as like a band-aid to give you fulfillment, it's not gonna be what you think. But again, we dated, we went through marriage prep. But before this, I prayed to God about getting married, and He asked me, do you want to get married? And this was one of those moments where God is answering your prayer because it's something totally out of left field, right? Again, it's not a yes or no answer. He did push that question back to me, and was like, do you really want to get married to her? And so I was like, yeah, I've come this far, so I'm just going to keep going. We got married in the Catholic Church in 2014, and after that I went through RCIA to become Catholic because I wanted to go to the same church with her. And after a while, I think we spent about a year here in Albuquerque, and then I got assigned to Dayton, Ohio for my grad school, and it was there where she realized like she was not getting fulfillment out of marriage. All of my problems aside for the moment, but she decided to move to Florida to get a job that she really wanted, and we made the distance thing work for a while. But when you're living apart like that, it's really hard to mend anything that breaks the relationship, and so it was like everything that broke was not fixed, and eventually that gap becomes really wide. And this past September, we were actually officially divorced, even though we had been going down that road since December of 2018, I would say. And so this is at the point, after, I would say, December of 2018, we kind of committed to divorce. And I started to really objectively see myself, that how much of a drag I had been on the relationship. Like, she had moved away, and I've been blaming her for that ever since she did that. And I started to learn that my wife was just reflecting back the negativity I was sending out. Granted, I think in marriage it can be too good of a mirror to the other person. She be like, yeah, your problems are really bad. that's not a loving way to reflect your spouse, but you do reflect each other. And if you want to be happy, I learned this about myself, like, I need to make myself happy and give myself goals, give myself purpose, so that she would reflect that back to me. Again, I treated marriage as like a plateau where I could just coast. I thought I checked that box off and I would be fulfilled afterward, but I had a lot more to do. So early last year, I read these two really good books, 12 Rules for Life and a biography about David Goggins, who's an ultramarathoner. And both of those are about life is really hard, life sucks. Life is tragic, according to Jordan Peterson. And you can accept that and start moving through it and making yourself better. And by making yourself better, you make your marriage better, and then through that, you eventually make your community better. And so I was like, man, I've been shirking all of my personal responsibility in this marriage. And I needed to start facing my own problems. I went to this small group at Calvary Chapel called Divorce Care, which if any of you guys have been through a divorce or even like a broken off engagement, I really recommend you find a church that does divorce care, just because it gave me a place to really process what had happened. Because as good as the Catholic Church is, like, it's hard to walk in as a divorcee and be like, I need to talk about my divorce problems. It's a lot easier to do that in a community of other people who have been divorced. And this made me realize, like, I wish my wife and I hadn't been so concerned about our image as a couple. It had been really hard because I was always trying to defend her decision to move away, and people were always like, why the heck did you do that? And of course, it was a dumb thing. But I think if we'd been honest and been like, we're really struggling with this, then other couples could have spoken into our lives. Don't let the image keep you from healing. And I was finally ready at this point to understand this truth about prayer. I realized that we have a terrifying amount of free will. Like, you have all the power to screw up your life if you so choose. Like, God knew what would happen to me, but He let me enter into that marriage anyway. And if you combine that with the tiny amount of knowledge that you have about the world, like, how much do you really know about what's going on in your life? Like, we just create a composite image of what we do know, and we think we know what's going on. But then as soon as something goes wrong, you realize you don't know anything. So how can we possibly navigate life if God doesn't work like a GPS? And the answer is, frankly, is being Catholic. It's practicing our faith. And you guys might know this already, but I did not. The Catholic practices are our lifeline, and they're also our fullest worship. So I'll unpack this a little bit, but during RCIA, I struggled a lot to connect with some of our core beliefs, like the Eucharist, like praying the Rosary, praying to Mary, to pray on our behalf. And these things are still a little difficult for me. But an amazing thing has happened over time, that the more I stretch my heart using the practices, the more God puts me into that space. Specifically, I'll start with Adoration, because a lot of my Adoration buddies are here tonight. Every Tuesday morning at the Adoration Chapel here, for the past year, I would say, I've been going and talking to the guys about divorce, praying to God. And I remember saying to my group that I was tempted to leave everything behind, like the whole Catholic faith, because I associated it with my failed marriage. But they were like, it doesn't make sense for you to cut out the healthy practices that you're doing. I already had this tearing apart inside of me, so why would you tear out the other good things? And so I would say it took like a year, but now I'm finally craving adoration, which I never thought would happen. And that desire for God has led to some other fruits. Just really recently, like breaking an addiction, it just happened. It was like, but it took that long, I had to keep coming and keep stretching. And eventually God gave something else to me. And through this process, I finally grasped what Mass is. Because like I said, I kind of pulled away from the Catholic Church with my guilt and feeling like, well, I don't know how to fit into the church as someone divorced. But I went to different Protestant services, and they were lacking what I had received in the Mass. It was like the Protestants are always trying to reinvent their liturgy about what makes sense in the moment, and I was like, oh, well, that's this part of the Mass, that's, I still don't really know all the names of the parts of the Mass, but anyway, I was really craving going back to Mass, and so that's another practice that I started to press back into in this time to heal. I couldn't unlearn the things I'd already learned from Master AA. And I also, you know, I experimented with filling my heart with other things in this time as well. And so my guilt started to pile up. And I'm not exactly sure how the mechanism of guilt works, like how much of it is self-imposed and how much is God trying to move you back to Him. But I went to confession anyway, right? I started to press back into confession, and it helps offload all of that. Whether it's you putting it on yourself or God putting it on you, it doesn't matter. Like, confession will heal you. And so currently, my stretch goal now is praying the rosary. I have a really hard time. I really like just open praying to God directly, and doing a structured rosary is difficult for me, but I'm like, God showed Himself to me through adoration, through Mass, through confession, so if I keep stretching myself in the rosary, what will He show me through that? And in addition, it's like Catholics have been practicing this stuff for thousands of years. You know, the Bible coupled with the Catechism, that's thousands of years of human wisdom that you can shortcut all of the problems of your life just if you press into them, right? We have to be very careful before we throw out traditions, especially, you know, it's so popular now to just throw away our traditions, right? But you're throwing away generations' wisdom. And I believe that these practices orient us towards God. I don't think they earn points with God. Like, if I pray 2 rosaries and you only pray 1, God's not like keeping a scoreboard. Like, you're stretching your own heart to fill up with the Spirit. Okay, so that's most of what I have. If you're here tonight and you've been a Greco-Catholic, rejoice in these practices with me. You know, rejoice in sharing your faith. How many of you know that person who's like the yoga evangelist, or like the mindfulness evangelist, or like if you know Raul or the CrossFit guys that like are always telling you to do CrossFit? Why aren't you the person saying, man, I went to Adoration, I prayed my rosary, and it gave me so much peace today? Weave that into your life. Share it, because it's amazing. And we have so much language nowadays to couch that in, like the mindfulness language. You know, Catholic Catholicism has been around a lot longer than mindfulness. And if you're here tonight because of guilt, or your parents forced you to go, your wife forced you to go, let that come up without judgment. Like I said at the beginning, keep doing these practices because you'll be stretched. You know, take that reason that you're about here and then let it grow. So pray with me, please, as we conclude. Lord, help us to discern your will. I know you speak to us. I know you have a plot in mind for our story, but you still let us write the chapters. Let us face the practice and the sharing of our faith, not with anxiety, that's something else to do, but with joy. We have turned to every other possible source of fulfillment, and they are lacking. So let us now turn to the church, to each other, and to the voice of your Spirit to satisfy us. I also pray for those of us in marriages, or those hoping to get married, that you'll break the spiritual attack against them, and to help husband and wife relate to each other honestly with love and without condemnation.